Hello everybody, my name is Benji, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere Program, where you might not even recognize this area, but this is where the mall used to be. You can still see where all of the wind turbines and the ores came from. There used to be a smelting rig here, and then the mall came down and curved. It's gone. I ripped it completely out. And today, we are going to be replacing it as our main project. Today is going to be all about the mall. Now, I already have a mall designed that I used in my solo playthrough, so I went on ahead and headed over to that playthrough with all of the stuff, and I just grabbed the mall. So today, what we're going to be doing is placing down these blueprints that I have in my inventory and just recreating the same mall, because I already have it designed. It's already super easy. It's just a lot easier for me this way if I just go on ahead and do it. Now, of course, I am gonna need a couple of things in order to actually have the mall work properly. Because, yeah, I built it in a playthrough that is, let's say, much more advanced than this one is. So some of the things are going to be a little bit, how do I say, not obtainable as of yet. There are some buildings that we actually have not unlocked, and one of the things that I might want to do first is queue up some research, actually. So let's do that first. So we're pretty much at, like, the mid-game here. I'd say probably a third of the way through the game. We could just go on ahead for the integrated logic system, but I never use the piler, the stacker. I never get bases big enough that I feel like I need to stack things. The main thing that would be very nice to have is the orbital collector for the gas giant exploitation. So we'll go on ahead, we'll activate that and see how it goes. The next thing is the high-strength, lightweight structure. These things are fantastic because they give me access to a new power system, which is down here, the satellite power distribution system. It gives me a satellite distribution tower. So that's going to be next. Miniature particle collector we can do later because we don't need strange matter, and the only other thing that it's good for is the deuterium recipe, but we already have a deuterium thing, so we can worry about that later. The Casimir crystal, I don't think I'm going to want to mess with at all until we get some purple science, because it won't be useful until we get into the stuff that requires the plane filters and the quantum chips, and we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. Same thing with the high-strength titanium glass. There's no point. The particle control technology and proliferator Mark III, however, these guys are pretty nice. And I know I don't have anything for proliferation Mark II yet, but that'll be something that I want to do relatively soon, and then just go straight from 1 to 3. And then we may as well just go on ahead for the particle control tech, because why not? And the other thing that I really want to see is here. Gravitational wave refraction. So this allows for transport through different stars, essentially. Right now we can transport ourselves decently fast, but we're limited to our, system here until we end up getting this. This. We can already do this? Well, I'll be damned. Ah, Mecha Core level 4. Which is purple science. And this is also purple science. And purple science is here. The information matrix, which particle control technology, information matrix, that's kind of the next spot that we want. So I'm going to get rid of the drive engine. So I guess now it's just moving toward purple science, And then from purple science, moving into the graviton lens to expand our reach into the rest of the stars. That seems to be where we're going from here. So with that done, let's go on ahead. I'm gonna need more planetary logic stations. I shouldn't have gotten rid of my my temporary setup. I should have kept it. I should have kept it. So first up is going to be the belts. I'm going to leave a little bit of space here, so I think I'm going to prioritize placing this. Where's the equator? Where is the equator? Is this the equator? No. Is this the equator? No. This is the equator. So let's place that on the equator. That way we've got a little bit of a mark. And I think this is going to be the first spot where I want the logic hub. And then we're going to need that. Gas giant exploitation. Cool. Unlock new recipes. Belt mall blueprint. Center it as much as possible, and it's going to say need foundation support too close to another logic station? Seriously? Too close. The foundation support I can understand, but the too close, it should not be too close. It should be fine. Oh, well, it's also colliding with these guys. So let me just get this. Huh. Alright, well, in that case, let's take both of those out. And then still try to center it. Yep, 273. Because it's trying to use Mark III belts. But if I downgrade all the belts to Mark IIs, we're gonna be fine. And then I can also downgrade all of the inserters to Mark IIs, because the inserters are also all Mark IIIs. Which means that they won't work. Because I don't have Mark III inserters. I can make Mark III inserters. However, making Mark III inserters would be a problem. Because why? Well, it really wouldn't be a problem. It would just be a nuisance. And I care about productivity right now. So let's just get rid of these nubbies here. And smack down too close to another hub. That's so intriguing. Because, like, it really shouldn't be. And yet it is. Alright, and then from here we can look at the blueprint and see what things were coming out of what. So we've got green circuit, iron, and green motors. Green circuit, iron, and green motors. Drop them all down to 500. High strength, lightweight structure. So we'll look at that here in a second. And we had, what was it? It was green circuits, iron, and then green motors, right? Right. There we go. And then the second one was graphene, blue motors, and regular motors. Graphene, blue motors, regular motors. Again, take them all, drop them to 500. After this, I promise you guys that I will just do this myself, and I won't bore you to death with the constant looking back at the blueprint, looking back at everything else. There. That's done. And then the last thing that we need to do is just power everything. And that should be very simple. What's your problem? Oh, I disconnected you from the main grid. That's the one thing I keep realizing, is like I keep accidentally disconnecting things from the grid because of the fact that I just got rid of a whole bunch of buildings. But yeah, that'll all work now. We just gotta hit demand and everything will work. What's your problem? Oh, that's right. I almost forgot about those guys. Yeah, there's a bunch of inserters in between everything here. There. Now it'll all work. And then I can also do this. Ooh, wow, that's way too many inserters. I only need like... Oh wait, no, these are belts. Okay, well, still. There. And your inserters and your logic things. I think I might actually bump up the iron just a touch. Our green and blue motors are still offline as well, aren't they? Satellite power distribution towers. Good. We're gonna need those. Here. You need to be put to... No, you're correct. Right? Ah, no, supply. And it was you. Yeah, you needed demand, and you needed supply. That was the only thing that I changed. Okay, good. Good. Very good. So that's one tier of everything done. We have Mark II, Mark III belts. We have Mark III, and I'll also go on ahead and just do Mark II inserters as well. And then everything else is in working order, is it not? Green motors are still suffering, but they're in transit, so that'll be fine. And it'll all be okay. Blue motors, kinda same thing. Correct. Now, next. The power mall. Yeah, power mall came next. And then I'm gonna want to line this up. Go ahead and get rid of the logic stations. But I want to line this one up. Ah, wait a second. I missed where it was. Power mall. Alright, so the big one there is the center. So I want it centered. And yeah, let's just do it there. Yeah, I'm aware. I'll fix that here in a second. What I need first is to make sure that that's not colliding with other objects, and then place it there. And then the next one will be placed here, and that'll be fine, but I won't bore you guys with me having to figure all of that out. And that will get us the new power satellite distribution, which uses those big platforms that we haven't talked about yet. And it also gets us pretty much everything else that we need. Thermal power, wind power. I don't know if it does solar. It doesn't look like it does solar. I think solar I had another mall for. And then this one's the big one. This one is the huge blueprint. It's very fun. It's obviously going to need a lot of space. Need foundation support, collide with other object. That seems to be the only issue that it's giving me at the moment, so that's very good. Proliferation Mark 3. Yeah, too close to another logic station, so we'll bump it up a grid to there. Yeah. So if we bump it up to, I think it was this grid? Was it this grid? Oh, right. I think it was this grid. So we'll just go here, and then over, and that should be fine. And it was very long, so let's try here. Yeah, let's try this and see if that works. And then grab the interstellar logic. Need foundation support. Of course it does. It still needs support up here. There. That should definitely do it now. Right. Correct. So, I'm also about to run out of power, but I'm gonna go on ahead and downgrade all the belts, downgrade all of the inserters, make a whole bunch of these logic towers, and then just make sure that everything is working properly, and then I will go through how the system all works, and go through all of the research that we're doing in the meantime. So yeah, I'll be back. Working on the last step now. There's one more thing that I did not downgrade, and everything else is working, and our power grid is suffering. Because why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it suffer? Why would our power grid not suffer? I don't know. I don't know why our power grid wouldn't suffer. But everything is set up. We are good to go now. Everything is ready. The only thing that is that is not in this mall that I need to produce are actually these guys, the mining machines. And then there was a whole other section that had to do with the assembly machines and the arc smelter that I just didn't copy because it was on a fault line in my main save. And then a couple of the other things that are not being produced here that need to be produced eventually are the things like the miniature particle accelerators, and there's a couple of other ones, but I don't think we've actually unlocked any of them yet. But so far we are currently A-okay in every regard. Everything is ready, everything is done. We just need to design a small portion for the assembly machines and whatnot, and I'll pause and figure all of that out before we actually do it. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and walk through everything that's being done here. So with the belts, we've got Mark 1, 2, 3, because they compound on top of one another, just like the inserters do. They compound on top of one another. Mark 1 goes into Mark 2 to make Mark 2s. Mark 2s go into Mark 3s to make Mark 3s, and so on and so on and so forth. That's green motors that's struggling. Good to know. But essentially, we just have every single component: green circuits, iron, green motors, and then we've got graphene, blue motors, and regular motors, and they just go into the components as they need to and go to their designated areas as required here. Nice and simple. Same thing with the inserters. We've got some Mark 3s now, we've got a bunch of Mark 2s, everything is fine in that regard, and then obviously we also have our splitters. Then we have our power, which power also compounds on top of one another, as you can see here. So we've got the regular power poles that get compounded into the long-range power poles, which we actually need to set up a little maker for these guys. That's on the list. And then we have the satellite distribution towers, which require these guys, and also the large platforms, which we need to do later. I forget what they're actually called. I just call them big platforms. It's frame material is what they're called. I just call them big platforms because I like the way that it's a big platform looking thing. I don't know. But then we also have wind power, and we have our geothermal power plants here as well. Looks like we're suffering on the iron department, probably as a result of our power production being a little bit piss poor, but we'll get that all figured out soon. .tm. We have our storages here, our large storage, small storage, and our liquid storage. We have all of our Dyson components here, including solar panels, these ray receivers, the EM rail ejectors, which all use blue motors and processors, which is why they're struggling a little bit. And then we also have something here for particle accelerators, or particle containers, which go into these guys, the energy exchangers. And the energy exchangers we'll have to have later. Essentially, that's like charging and discharging batteries that can then be transferred between planets to establish interstellar power connections. It's really handy and really cool, very space heavy though. So we'll get into that eventually. And then over here, the last little bit that we've got is our accumulators, which do not have the silica crystals because I forgot to import those when I was on the other planet, and I don't feel like going to another planet right now. And then we have our planetary logic and interplanetary logic, interstellar logic systems here, but they also need those particle containers, otherwise they would already be producing. And then we have our small engines, which go into the drones, and then the big engines, which go into the interstellar ones. And then we have the orbital collectors, which we're not quite producing yet. But I'm going to go on ahead, figure out what design I want for the processors, and then I'll be back to figure that out. Alright, so to wrap up the episode, I have a plan finalized for the last couple of things that we need to produce. One of the things that I noticed that we are not producing is actually matrix labs, and we are going to need those so that we can produce more science in the future. So we need a couple of things to be produced currently. We need the Mark I and Mark II assembling machines, as well as the arc smelter, the mining machine, and the matrix lab. All of which together is 9 items separately. So the assembly machine Mark I and arc smelter and mining machine all take iron, green circuits, and this one doesn't take copper magnets, but they all three take copper magnets, and then this takes the iron and the E circuits as well. So we're going to have the iron, the green circuits, and the copper magnets, all three going in one direction. Like 3 belts of all of that stuff coming across, like so. And then we'll have that be its own logic tower over here. So I'm just going to go on ahead and line up one of our mining machines here, like so. And then upgrade those to Mark IIs because I've got them. Yes, I am still doing research. I'll explain all of that momentarily. But now we've got iron, E-circuits, and copper magnets as one tower. And we'll just go on ahead and plop that tower. These guys are slightly out of line. But that's fine, because this one will end up being in line when it's done. So, iron, copper magnet, and green circuits. And then we're gonna have the iron on the innermost line, and then copper magnets, and then green circuits. Right, that sounds right to me. Because they all fall off at the same time. Yeah, they all fall off at the same time. Alright, cool. So that works. And then they can just maneuver to where they need to go. Like that. And then we can go on ahead and start. We're gonna start here with the mining machine, because it literally only takes the 3 items that we just did. So we're gonna have one for the gears, and then it needs iron. Yeah, so just like that. And that's mining machines done and dealt with. And then next up, we're gonna save this for last so that we can put this there as well. So next up, we're gonna go on ahead and do the arc smelter, and we'll bring the stone and the glass around the front. So that's where the second one of these guys comes in, where we put it right here. And then we do stone and glass, like that. And then these will just need to be brought along. So we'll go on ahead and we'll do stone first, glass second, like that. And then the arc smelter does not need gears, and this also does not need gears, so that's good. And we've got the arc smelter and matrix slab. The stone goes there, and then that's done. Actually, I am gonna move that, that way we can center the bin. And then the glass goes there. And we'll go on ahead and set up the bins as well, just because we can, like so, and like so, just like that. With the matrix slab checked off, all the rest of this stuff is good to go, except for, you know, the more advanced things. Actually, I don't think fractionators are done. Do we have fractionators yet? Because stone, steel, glass, and then the processors. The processors we already have. And then stone we also have. Yeah, let's go on ahead and do them as well, because I don't think we have them set up yet. So we can do fractionators just right here, and that'll be fine. I'm gonna go on ahead and place a bin, that way we have our reference. And then glass will obviously have to continue as well. We'll have the glass continue the entire way, the other one continue not the entire way. And we'll do that and that. Ah, the other thing, we need iron, yada yada. And I'm pretty sure it's iron, and then just the circuits? No, it's everything. It is still everything. Yeah. And yeah. Okay, those are done now. And the only other thing here is that it needs steel. I didn't actually grab any of my smelters. I put them up in the top, right? No, I put them here. So we can do a little teeny tiny cheeky thing and just put this here. And then continue bringing the iron down. And then we can just take the iron, put it into a steel smelter, and then put the steel straight into the machine. It's a little jank, but I kind of love it, actually. I really love it, actually. And then the copper magnets can go away. So I'm actually going to swap this like that. Because the green circuits need to keep going. But now at this point, we can raise this. Once I get a proper angle. Aw, you gotta be kidding me. I hate it when it does that to me. I really do. I really hate it when it does that kind of shit. Okay. And that will be everything for the fractionators. Fractionators are something that we're always going to need a lot of, so I'm going to leave it at... I'll leave it at a full 10. Arc smelters, I'll keep at 4 for now, and these guys I'm always just going to keep at 2. Just like that. So let's see, that is the mining machine done, arc smelter is done, the matrix lab is done. I'm not really going to worry about the spray coaters right now. We could fit those in somewhere else at a later date. Everything else over here, I'm just kind of checking, is done and good to go, so it's just these two now. The assembling machine Mark II and the assembly machine Mark I. So we're gonna need one of these guys, which I'm actually just gonna go on ahead and extend the belts to the proper distances, and then we're gonna grab 2 of these guys. One of them is gonna be for gears, the other one is gonna be for the assembly machine Mark I. The assembly machine Mark I, shocker shocker, requires iron, and requires the green circuits, which is why we have those here. And then that will also, let me grab this, it will go into a bin, but it will also go to this side here for the assembly machine Mark II. And then the assembly machine Mark II needs our lovely processors and some graphene. And I don't... Aha! There's still a third one of these guys over here. So we can just take the graphene, and then we can take the graphene out, not of the center, but out of there. And then bring it up a level. All the way down here. To like there. Then drop it down a level. Bring it all the way to here. Attach it in. And there you have it. Now all we have to do is drop all of these guys down to roughly 500 or so. Just roughly speaking, demand, 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 jack that up to 100%, and then same thing here, 500, 500, 500, demand, 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 jack it up to 100%, and then place in our lovely power lines, just like this. Most of these already have power. It's just a few of them that don't. And now our mall is complete. And our fleet of drones is going absolutely crazy still. Like over here, it gets so much worse because we actually have our smelting rigs and our assembling rigs and everything over here, and then our science too. Our science rigs go crazy with the drones. But there we have it. The mall is complete. With the exception of the things that the mall is missing to actually operate properly, such as the purple particle containers, such as some blue motor and green motor efficiency issues, the big platform issue, you can see it there. So we've got a couple of things that we can work out in the next episode or next episodes to work out some of the kinks. But in the meantime, in between episodes, what I'm going to go on ahead and do is the same thing that we did a couple of episodes ago with these planetary logic towers, and essentially I'm just going to place down a whole bunch more of them and just tap the rest of the resources on the planet, and then if we need to, we can start bringing in resources from other planets, because we're starting to bleed this one dry. We only have 1.3 million copper left and 2 million iron left. Granted, most of that iron is centralized here in these couple of veins, and then there's a couple of veins down here. But I'm going to go on ahead in between episodes, like I said, and I'm just going to completely and entirely tap the planet of all of the resources, load them up into these planetary logic hubs, and just live it out from there. We'll have the entire planet harvested by the time you see me next. Oh, also, wrong. I upgraded our power. I doubled the power production from the fusion power generation facility here, and our power grid is now stable and working perfectly fine. I'm thinking about getting rid of some of the coal power because of the fact that coal is actually a very valuable resource. And we don't want to use all of the coal specifically for power. At the very least, what I might do is get rid of this one here, this little one, because that's 400, it's almost 500,000 coal right there. So we definitely want to pump that into our logic system instead of what's currently happening. But that is going to be all for today, so thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, but without further ado, adios, sayonara, au revoir, hasta la vista, das vidania, auf Wiedersehen, ciao, and goodbye. Please have yourselves all a fantastic rest of your day. Get some sleep if you need to. Don't forget to stay hydrated, and I will see you guys in the next one. So yeah, later y'all.